totally back in the saddle. Made it back from the Nevada desert. It's good to be back. How you doing out there in SportsCage land? Barney, Shynkaruk, Maz, McFly will join me. 3 hours for you. Curtis also here, and the Sheriff, Alan, fresh off the SummerSlam. No, what was it? WrestleMania. That's what it is. I'm sure he'll want to talk wrestling at some point, maybe with Maz. That's when I will leave the studio. It is for Kellen Solar on Mondays. You're always welcome to participate. Please do text in the Prairie Land Rentals text line, 306-936-6262. What's on your mind? What are you talking? Is it the NHL playoffs? Is it the new rider signing today? Is it the SJHL playoffs, the Western Hockey League playoffs? Or how about it's game day for our Regina Pat Canadians at the TELUS Cup, the national championships? They take on Fraser Valley in their first game. We are going to talk to head coach of the Pat Seas in about 10 minutes, Ryan Hodgins, as they get set for 8 p.m. puck drop tonight, Saskatchewan time. That game you can watch on HN Live. Also in hour one, Washington Caps assistant general manager from Regina, Saskatchewan. He's traveling because that's all he does is travel. Ross Mahoney in hour one. Eric Francis talking NHL playoffs with us in hour two. Our clutch performer, of course. And then hour three, buckle up for Darian Durant. If you have any questions for Darian, as always, that Prairie Land Rentals text line, 936-6262. So much to get to. It's been a while, Stain style. Maz is here with us. Maz's backdrop, it looks like he's in NYC. He's in the lower. What are you going to come out of the gate with me? You probably got so many questions for me from the last week.
First off, I just want a little update. It was very dramatic last week. There was a lot going on behind the scenes at Harvard Media.
Coffee machine?
Coffee machine being one of them. We need to come to you for insight. Maybe you have knowledge. Basically, it was there on Friday, repossessed over the weekend. Come Monday, Curtis, total meltdown. It was an issue all week. And before we even get to Sharky and hit what Sharky did on Thursday and all his stuff, do you have a coffee machine update? Is it ever coming back? Why did it get confiscated?
I heard the bailiff came on the weekend. There was a number of them. It was an armored vehicle type thing. I can't see it ever coming back. We are rolling old school down there, which I appreciate and I like. Like, it feels like I'm at a Kresge's. You know, the counter, they got the we're pouring coffee, old school. And,
nice.
And then you can make it as stiff as you want. But the only thing is always that office psycho that wants it really strong. And it's like, Chikai, can we just make coffee like normal? Let's go on the normal. That's the coffee update, though.
Well, it's been a bad quarter. It's been a bad quarter for the SportsCage. We had our cable cut off, the coffee machine taken away. I don't know what's next. This things happen in threes, so yeah, it's wide open.
I guarantee the studio will be next. I don't know. Followed by clothing. Do we get clothing allowance? No. It's all good. I gotta. You asked about Vegas. You're asking about Vegas, and it's like, oh, you went to Vegas, and I'm like, listen, I'm elbows down. I said this before. Don't give me this elbows up, not trap. That's not me. Okay, one of my best friends lives there. He's an entrepreneur, good guy. He's not happy with what's going on. We went down. We were there. I was there for the Masters in the sports book. It was rocking. Now, let me tell you, like you talked about, hot tip. If you haven't gone to Vegas in the last 8-10 years, it's expensive.
Oh my God,
there's no more old Vegas. There's no more. There's none of that. So you got to grind. You got to figure out ways. If that's picking up, whatever you need at Vaughn's, where I go, I roll into Vaughn's. I pick up what I need. I kind of try and go one meal a day. Maybe hammer some Skol in between that. That's my Vegas right there.
Hold on.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Okay. If it's one meal a day, which meal do you eat? Because to me that's crazy. But if it's you, what meal do you eat? Is it lunch?
Well, let's be real. Maybe one's aggressive. There's like a 1.5, and that 2:00-ish time. There's got to be something there. because you start to fizzle. And it depends when you're golfing. I took my clients golfing. It was fun. We had a great time, but it's expensive. I got to tell you, though, we saw Jake Owen live at the Sunset Amphitheater. Jake Owen could have been the worst concert I've ever seen in my life.
Whoa.
Ever. And I saw Jan and Dean when I was younger at the Saskatoon exhibition, and they sucked. There were people singing at the barbershop, at Gillies, at Loser, any of those bars on the Strip. Toby Keith isn't there anymore. Jason Aldean is a bar on the Strip. Old Red, that would have blew him out of the water. It was so bad, Maz. And my wife was like, oh, she didn't get to go, right? Because it's during the week. She was like, oh, you get to go to Jake Owen. Like, I'm so jealous. And then I sent her videos. And I was like, this is awful. Like, there's somebody playing at the Northern Lights Casino in PA right now that would be much better than this person.
Having seen Jake Owen before, he's good, because it's funny. So if you saw him, what was that, on a Saturday? The next day he played Country Thunder. He played Country Thunder in Arizona the next night.
He got exposed at the Sunset Amphitheater. I tell you that. I don't know there's no auto tuning in, but that was just one thing. Here's my Las Vegas story. We are at Jason Aldean's. Me and some of the fellers. It was dead. It was great though. And there's a band up there, and they want some tip money. So we give him some tip. George Strait, no, easy. So then the next batch of cash we give him, I am going to challenge these guys. I'm going to challenge them. What do you want to hear? I yell out Matchbox 20. He's like, awesome. He's like, right after this, he goes into Tonic. Remember that 1990s? If you could only see. Then he goes back to back Matchbox 20. Now he's got us in the palm of his hand. Like, it's over. What do you need from us, cash-wise? Then I said, do you know any 3 doors down? The band starts laughing. They do Kryptonite, 10 out of 10. Then he sits and rattles off Here Without You acoustic set. Unreal. This guy made Jake Owen sound like me. Bad. Some of those.
So, and if you've been to Vegas before and you've been to Carnival Court at Harrah's, they always had a great band on stage. You can never ever remember the name, but just killer. Somebody, like you had said, so talented, could be somebody somewhere, but for whatever reason, they're playing covers in Vegas for drunks and dudes from Sasky wearing hockey paraphernalia and tipping large.
Cargo shirts.
So for of course. So for whatever you paid him to play Matchbox 20, which is random. I like the 3 doors down Matchbox 20. Oh. That was whatever you gave him plus an extra 41%. So I hope he appreciated.
I'd do it again. I'd do it again right now. I would, if he was playing at Bart's on Broad, just down the block from us here tonight, whatever he needs. He was so good. The one guy, his sister's getting married at the Turvey Center this summer. I got his number. He wants to know how much to fly him up to do an acoustic set. Dead serious. That's the kind of stuff we're rolling with in Vegas. Oh yeah, it's big time. I tell you what, our first guest is he's a little bit early, and we don't want to keep him waiting. So we're gonna get to the local stuff and the Pat C stuff in a moment. Let's go right now. He's on the Western Pizza guest hotline. I tell you what, I missed Western Pizza while I was down there tonight. Definite pie, NHL playoffs, Pat Canadians game, Western Pizza. Get the pickup special wherever your nearest Western Pizza is. Ross Mahoney, Assistant General Manager of the Washington Capitals, joining us. Roscoe, out of the gate, I got to ask you, where are you today? Because you're like, Maz said, are you actually in Regina? I said, he lives in Regina. I golf with him at the Royal Regina, but he is on the road a lot. You got to be somewhere today.
Yeah. No, I have a house and a wife in Regina, but you're right. I am on the road. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. Going to watch Dubuque at Madison in the USHL game, and then tomorrow I'll make my way to Texas to watch the Under-18 World Championship.
How many days on the road a year are you, Ross?
About 240 nights in a hotel room every year. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's 7 or 8 trips to Europe. The rest, and obviously in North America. And I've got 15 guys around the world. They tell me who to come and see, and yeah. But it's all good. They're paying me to watch hockey games.
Yeah, the last time I saw you in the airport in February, you're on your way to Finland. It sounds so great. Let's go. So tonight, will you be like glued to watch the Caps and Habs, or will you watch it later? Like as the assistant GM, when you're scouting so much, how in tune and how much involved are you watching tonight?
Yeah, I'll probably catch the end of it, and then or else watch it tomorrow. The replay of it on my computer. Yeah.
This team this year, when you guys sat down as a management team, back before camp or into camp, where did you guys think this team would land this year from where they ended up?
Yeah, I thought we were going to have a good team. Did I think we would end up where we did? No, to be in all honesty, we had a lot of things go right. We got some really good goaltending. Logan Thompson came in and played exceptional for us. Some of the free agents and trades we made, picking up Roy on defense, and Dubois had a tremendous year for us. Duhane has provided a lot of energy and physicality for us, and we've had a couple of young players step up too. Protas and McMichael have really taken another step, and both ended up with about 55, 60-point seasons. So, and that's without Protas playing on the power play. So it's just a combination of all those things, to be honest with you.
Ross, Spencer Carberry, the head coach, quite a storied history with the club, not only playing in the minors, but then coaching. And then he left to go to Toronto for a pro opportunity. And you were there the whole time. Now he's back and he's done some great things with his team. When he left to go to Toronto, were you sad as an organization to see him go? I mean, you don't want to hold anybody back, but he seems like he's a pretty special guy when it comes to having the pulse on how to be a coach in today's NHL.
Yeah, he's a really bright person, really intelligent. And I think one of his best qualities is he's such a good communicator. He seems to be able to communicate with the younger players or the older players. And we knew what we were getting with Spencer. As you said, he played in South Carolina. He was a head coach in South Carolina. He was, head coach in Hershey. He actually coached McMichael and a few of the other players. So we knew exactly what we're getting, and he's done a fantastic job for us, as has the rest of the staff.
Ovechkin and what happened this year, and like last year, I'm just kind of like, he's really gonna do it, And then he breaks his leg. Like Ross, first time you met Ovi, what was that like? When was that? I gotta know how that went down.
He was actually at the Hlinka tournament, and the first time I met him. I'd seen him play before then, but the first time I met him was at the Hlinka tournament, and he was a late birth date, so he wasn't draft eligible, but it was in between games. I was just outside, and I saw this young guy, and I thought it must be one of the drafted kids, so I took my roster and pointed to it, and he pointed to his name, and it was Alex Ovechkin, so I shook his hand, introduced myself to him, and shaking his hand too. He had huge hands. It was, and obviously a big body guy, but that was my first time when I actually met him, and seemed like a real nice young man. He didn't speak a lot of English back then, but he seemed very personable.
When you're scouting a young Alexander Ovechkin, and probably in the next year, in the draft and all that, are you guys looking at him? Because we all remember him playing in the World Juniors, right? And he was just such a target, and Phaneuf was out there. And were you guys look at him and go, well, we can make him a player, we can change him to do this, and we can work on this? Or do you see a guy like that and go, that's our guy, like that's his skill set, that's what he's going to be, let's get him and let him run?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's there were two things. I mean, one was his ability to score. He scored every tournament I went to when he was 16, 17, 18, played 3 years in the World Junior Tournament. Did I know he'd end up scoring as many goals as he did? No. If he had 500 or 550, that would have been really good, I thought. But he definitely was going to score. And I think that's probably the hardest thing to do in the National Hockey League is score goals. And then he brought this physicality that I hadn't really seen. I've seen guys who could score. I've seen guys who can play physical. but not guys who can score with the same kind of physicality, as I said, that he had. And I think he's less than 300 hits now from leading the National Hockey League in hits in the history of the game, which, if you kind of put that in perspective, it's phenomenal what he's done as far as the goal scoring and that physical play.
So, Ross, as an assistant general manager of a hockey club, you always have to have an eye on the future, and next year and the year after and the year after. Nobody knows how long Ovi's going to play. Now he's got the record, maybe one more year. Do you have to have a plan for the Capitals of life without Alexander Ovechkin and what that potentially looks like as a club?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's turned 40 years old, and he has another year left on his contract. After that, we'll see what the future holds. But I think we've got some real good young players coming, and there'll be Ryan Leonard, who just left Boston College and probably played the last 5 or 6 games for us. I think Ryan has an ability to score goals, and hopefully he'll take up some of that slack once Alex, does retire, whenever that would be. Protoss' younger brother ended up playing in Windsor this year. I think he was second in the OHL in scoring, and has had a tremendous playoff. He's about 2.5 points a game for Windsor. So we've Andrew Crystal out in Spokane again, led the league in scoring, and another very good playoff. So those guys are there's the cupboard isn't bare. We've got some players coming, and we have to be patient with them. So in time, I think we've got some players that'll be able to replace the goal scoring, not an individual, but it'll be more by committee. That's a lot of goals to replace.
What's one thing that you can share about Ovi that we, the regular public, doesn't know?
Oh boy, he is such a good person. I think when he first came over, we had Russia, Canada, we had Sidney Crosby, we had Alex, and we kind of dislike the Russians in Canada with hockey. But once you meet him, I mean, he doesn't come in and shake your hand. He comes in and shakes your hand and gives you the big hug. I always say he's scout friendly. He's so good to the scouts. It's unbelievable. He's great to his teammates. One quick story, we won the Stanley Cup in Vegas, and you celebrate on the ice, and there's some celebrating in the dressing room, and then there's a function after at the hotel, and security's pretty tight, and I get in there and I look, and there's 3 or 4 guys, gentlemen, but homeless gentlemen who, very sad. But they're at our after party, and they're having a bite to eat, and it was Alex who brought them in. He saw them on the street, and just really bothered him to see where they were at. The hard times that these gentlemen were having, and he brought him into the after cup party at the hotel and made sure that they had something to eat and to drink. And there's little things like that he does that people don't even know about. I mean, it's he's a really good person and really cares about people, and he's a great leader. Some of these players that come into our organization, I think they fit in because our dressing room has great leadership, and we're very accepting of people, of other players and where they come from. And Alex is the one that leads that.
I know, his mom, I think, was an Olympic athlete. His dad was an athlete as well. But you look at him, and through this chase, right, and it was all over social media, like Alex having a couple of pints after, and just his frame, right? He is such a big man. Just one of those. He's got that dad strength. They're just that, you don't want to run into him. I couldn't even imagine running into him full torque. Just his genetics, Ross, and then like I said, the broken leg. To come back as fast as he did, there's something different with his body and his genetics, isn't there?
Yeah, I'd say it's just a bit freaky. It really is. I mean, he's almost 6'3". He's 238 pounds. As you said, the background, Mom was a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in basketball. She was, I think, a 7 or 8-time European champion. She was the Russian Women's Athlete of the Century. She was the captain of the team in all those years. I think Dad was a soccer player. And if you see Alex, he's not like the guy in the gym, kind of with I call him gym muscles, kind of the beach muscles. He is just this big guy with, just a massive, human being. It really is. It's just just a big person. And yeah, the broken leg, he wanted to come back earlier. We had to, keep him out. If you track his record, it's like 80 games, 79 games, 81 games. He never misses games. And I guess that's probably helped him with the goal chase, the longevity that he has had. But he's just really, like I say, a bit freaky when it comes to the athleticism.
All right. Well, being a sports show in Saskatchewan, of course, we have a soft spot for anybody from Saski and it's Western Canada as well. I love the Logan Thompson story. What made Logan Thompson attractive to you guys to sign him? Because you had a pretty good one in Braden Holtby, end up winning the cup or whatever, and now you've got Logan Thompson, and he has it seems, and he had an outstanding season. What was the why behind the signing?
Daryl Baumgartner, you may be familiar with. Daryl is in Regina. He's my Western Canada scout, and he's also kind of my goalie guru. He's, responsible for the Holtbys and a lot of these other goalies that we've had. And we actually invited Logan Thompson to our development camp way back when he was a 19-year-old with Brandon. And then went on and went to university, maybe York University. Then we had him in South Carolina for a year. And we had the opportunity to bring him back into the organization this year, and we did. It's he's got good size. He's very athletic, very competitive, never gives up on pucks. And I think he really showed that this year, that athleticism and that ability, never, like I said, never to quit, never to give up on pucks, always trying to make a save.
Assistant General Manager Ross Mahoney of the Washington Capitals joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. I got one more because I know you got to get going and you're getting gracious with your time here today. You mentioned that you're scouting the USHL final or whatever tonight. This whole now, NCAA major junior, you've been scouting a long time. Like this kind of changes things. How is that changing it for your scouts and you as an assistant general manager? And what's the feeling with these American kids now with the major junior option?
Yeah, I mean, the scouting is probably fairly similar just because we were always looking at the players, at this age group. I'm curious to see how it does shake out. There's a lot of incentive, I think, for some of the kids to play, and then go to college. Some go early, like the Ryan Leonards and the Perreaults and the Will Smiths, they go as 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds. I think a lot of the universities, though, they want the kids to come in and as 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds and be able to contribute right away. So I'm actually curious to see how many of the players that are 18 and 19 are going to come and play major junior hockey and how many will stay and play in the USHL. But I think it's really going to benefit those kids, especially the late bloomers that have an opportunity to go to school. I mean, before you would play a game when you were a 15-year-old and you didn't have that ability to go to school, or, the colleges were getting kids to commit at a very young age. And so I think we've kind of taken that out of the picture right now where, you can play junior hockey, whether it's major junior or junior in the States, and then still be able to get a scholarship. So it's interesting. I think it's time will tell, I guess, how it kind of sorts itself out.
Yeah, well, awesome, Roscoe. Hey, the Royal doesn't open till next week, so you travel, and then we can't swing the clubs until next week up here anyway. But appreciate your time. Good luck to your Caps, and we'll see you in the Larkin. We'll have a pint here soon.
Sounds good. So I just get to lose golf balls, do I, in another week? Is that what you're telling me when I come back from the under 18?
Yeah. Me as well.
Oh, no, I've golfed with you. You're much better than Ross. I think Ross just leases the golf balls, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's all I do.
Leasing the golf balls.
Yeah. Right on, Ross. Thanks. Have a good one, buddy.
Okay, take care. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed it.
Right on. He's from Regina. Yeah, 240 nights in hotels.
I would love to see, not that he wants to travel anymore, but I would love to know how many miles he has from the airlines and then how many points he has from whatever hotel chain he stays at. If he could probably go somewhere nice at no charge, but why would you? If you're on the road that much.
I think last year when I golfed with him, I think it was him and his wife. they were going to Europe to this, this tour and all that, and it sounded fantastic. But yeah, like that is a lot of time on the road, puts in the time, and because straight from the USHL down to the U18 thing that's going on in Texas, and then he'll watch the Caps. Did you hear
when he started listing off some of the draft picks that they have, like the Andrew Cristall and the Ryan Leonard, all that, to be like, I think Ross is hitting some home runs there, because there are a lot of guys that are in charge of scouting for some NHL teams that wish they had he just rattled off in 10 seconds to be like, yeah, probably 4 guys that are going to be NHL All-Stars in the next few years. Just like, no big deal. No big deal.
We had him on a little earlier. That was a great interview. If you missed it, it'll obviously be in podcast form, and the video will be out there as well. Curtis will get that all done. It's time for a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk Pat C's. We're going to talk SJHL, Western Hockey League. It's busy on the local front because we've got a lot of NHL coming up as well. So SportsCage, streaming at sportscage.com and always on 620 CKRM. It is Regina Pat Canadians game day against Fraser Valley at the TELUS Cup. Game number 1. We're going to hear from head coach Ryan Hodgins in a moment. So, Maz, I don't know how much you know. I was kind of doing some scouting. We were up in Saskatchewan on the weekend. I'm like looking through the teams and then trying to read up on all these teams. So there's just so much unknown, right? But now with video, it's not like back in the 80s where it was just a total, you went out for warm-ups and you saw the team and you're like, okay.
Well, I asked Sharky this on Thursday. I said, it's one thing for all of these teams. They're going to see, they've seen Maddox Schultz on tape, but the tape doesn't tell the story, and Sharky says, no way. He goes, you'll never be able to replicate what he can do on his edges on tape, as these kids are going to see on ice when they play against him. And then it's the rest of the team as well. So tape can only do so much. They'll never, ever see the full effect of like these potential superstars. But like we talked about, a lot of these teams that have made the TELUS Cup, they're good. And they're there for a reason. Yeah.
The 8 o'clock puck drop, Saskatchewan time. I'm going to be watching it with a couple of split screen NHL games. I'm dead. I already have it figured out how it's going to go down. hnlive.ca is where you can watch it. You can go and build an account there. Moncton lost to Elgin Middlesex 3-2. Moncton, I was reading and I was like, ooh, the Atlantic. These guys could be good, but they're 1-0. The team that I think a lot of people are curious about is the team from Quebec. And if you do some reading on them, the Pat Canadians don't play them till later in the week. I think it's the last preliminary game, which might set up really well. These guys haven't lost almost like very few games this year. They're the Chevaliers de Levi. I know. What's a Saskatchewan way to say that? Can we just go Chevalier de Levi's? Like a nice pair of denim, or I don't know.
So if the Pat C's end up in the final against these guys, should we bring Sharky back on to share his thoughts like he did on Thursday about what he thinks about the province of Quebec? What goes on there?
They have a plethora of Quebec major junior drafted players. Like counting, there's almost 20 of them. Their playoff record was an 11-1.
Is this going to be a birth certificate, like a Middle League World Series baseball situation? We're finding out this guy, he's actually 23 and he's been working at a lumber mill for like 4 years and stuff. But he's passing his 16. He played in the Quebec Senior League, and they just brought him down for the week. They bought him a plane ticket to Chilliwack. He's got a wife and 3 kids already.
He just rips darts. So we'll talk more on the TELUS Cup with head coach Ryan Hodgins in a moment. SJHL deadlocked 1-1. I was following this on the weekend.
Weyburn Red Wings
2-1 win in game 1. They're using video review. I want to get Mac on. Maybe tomorrow I'll get the commission on Kyle McIntyre to find out. Is it because of the camera angles are so good? They opened up the can of worms to do video replay, and they had it going on in game 1, and we're in my SJ hoodie here. I'm representing. Melfort last night 3-0. Thanks to their power play. I think Weyburn got into some penalty trouble. I didn't watch the game live. Game 3 and 4, Wednesday, Thursday in Weyburn. You got to sell that place out, like pre-sell that out.
Well, there was 1,300 last week at what's that, Crescent Point Place.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're Weyburn and you got a split in Melfort, that's all you could ask for. That is exactly what you would hope for, to be like, we had a split, we come back home and it's all good, because Weyburn did what they did. Play some good defense, sneaky good goaltending, and they can shut teams down.
Angelo Zoll, he's I don't know if he's got a Scully already or what his deal is. But he's turning heads. Is that what the kids say for a scholarship? Like, that's the abbreviation, the Scully? I think it's always been like that, hasn't it? Has it? I don't know. What do I know?
Trust me,
make the clearinghouse if I tried.
The circles that you and I have rolled in our lifetime, scholarship was not a word that came up in a lot of conversations, okay?
I remember going through the NCAA clearinghouse and how many classes I was missing. And they were like, yeah, you got to take a calculus. You need this math or algebra. And I'm like, those were like all the Actel kids at our school. No. What did you take? Advanced foods, woodworking. Those are legit. Those are the good stories. Okay, Western Hockey League report, always for extreme hockey and sport in Regina. Spring hockey, they got so many new items in, sticks, equipment, and then Umbrella Marketing can help you with any of your team needs, whether it's jerseys, warm-up gear, all that. Western Hockey League, Wednesday night, I'll be glued to the TV. Lethbridge and Calgary. Has it not lived up to the hype, this series, Maz?
When it was 2-0, I think I said on the show last week, I'm like, this is going to end up 2-2, then it's going to go 7 games. And it got a little chippy on, when was that? Was that Saturday or Friday? At the game in Lethbridge where they won, there was a kneeing penalty, and then they were chirping the goalie as he was leaving the ice. They hit him in goalie, so should be a good hockey game. A really good hockey game. And it's a toss-up now.
Yeah. Everett and Portland, they got Game 7 tomorrow. Spokane up 3-2 on Vic, and that's Game 6 Tuesday. So, so much going on. Well, let's go to a quick break here, and we come back. We're going to hear from head coach of the Regina Pat Canadians. It is game day, 8:00. Go Pat C's against Fraser Valley at the TELUS Cup. Ryan Hodgins will join us. It is the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com, and always on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Welcome back to the Sports Cage on this Monday for Kellen Solar in Lumsden. Anything you need solar, whether it's for the livestock operation or maybe your commercial or home building, Kellen Solar in Lumsden. Keeping it local here on the Sports Cage like we usually do. 8:00 puck drop tonight in Chilliwack. Our Regina Pat Canadians taking on the host club, the Fraser Valley Thunderbirds. 8:00, HN Live is where you can watch that. You can go to HN Live, Hockey Canada website too, and it'll direct you if you want to watch hnlive.ca. Let's go out on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Maybe you're picking up a pie, watching some NHL playoffs and the Regina Pat Canadians. And it's head coach of the Regina Pat Canadians joining us again here, Ryan Hodgins. Hodgie, first off, let's go with what's it like there in Chilliwack? You guys get there Sunday, get settled in. You know, what's the vibe? What's the rink? What's the I guess atmosphere like there?
Yeah, it's outstanding. The rink is it's perfect. It's a perfect rink for the tourney, and it's a cool atmosphere. The weather's nice right now. It was rainy when we came in, but it's sun's out right now, and it's a good atmosphere.
So did you guys have a little skate yesterday before things?
Yeah, we did. We flew in early in the morning, and we flew into Vancouver, and then we bussed to Chilliwack and got our stuff set up in the dressing room, and then we came back. We had practice yesterday afternoon, had an hour skate, so yeah, it was good to get on the ice.
So I guess all teams are kind of in the same boat. You guys would be, under the microscope for a lot of these teams. How do you pre-scout? Let's first off go with Fraser Valley tonight, the Thunderbirds. What do you know about them? How much, pre-scout did you do? How much tape did you watch?
Yeah, we watched a lot of tape. We had a lot of video, and we broke it down, and the coaches put in a lot of time, watch as much as we could. But again, with the video, sometimes it's deceiving, and it's different when it's live bullets. But we definitely, we got a lot of opportunity to watch some video.
What's Fraser Valley? What are you expecting from them tonight?
They'll be hardworking. They're fast. I mean, all the teams we watch, they all skate well. They'll be fast, and they'll come out as hard, physical.
Do you know much like what's the league like? Do they play? And do you gauge off that? Because everyone talks about the Saskatchewan League, right? And how it's one of the best, if not the best. And it's like a miniature Western Hockey League kind of thing. Do you base a lot of things off the different leagues that you're going to be seeing?
Well, it's hard because it depends who you talk to on the leagues. But yeah, it's tough, right? Like I know, some teams that. Yeah, it's hard to compare the leagues. You have your ratings and so forth, but again, it's tough to compare them until we get going.
Is there, for Fraser Valley, you said they're fast. Is there like, a line to key on, a couple guys to key on?
Yeah, they got a couple of guys like Brown. He's a big threat for them. They have a few players that obviously skilled. All the teams right now that we watch video, they all got skill, and they're all good teams. So I mean, they got Brown, and he's their top guy. And but again, their depth, they skate well.
For you guys as a coaching staff, maybe first off with goaltending, like what's the game plan going into the week? Do you run to Bashniak as much as possible? Do you kind of do the load management thing and give him some breaks? How do you handle the goaltending?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I go straight game by game and situational. I mean, depends. We'll see. Tabby's going tonight, and I'll make a decision on game 2 after tonight on just different situations on how this game goes. So I don't have it laid right out. I have an idea what a perfect world, but I will make the ultimate decision after tonight, both game 2 and just game by game. When
you have, like, you guys have a pretty, I guess, senior team, a lot of leadership there, a lot of smart hockey players. You've been in, you play hockey and you get into these tournaments or the big games, and emotions can get the better of you off the hop and at the beginning. Do you think you got to worry about that with your crew though, Hodgie? Are you guys so experienced? A lot of guys have kind of been through big games.
Well, I think any big game, like whether what level you're at or what age you are, I mean, your emotions are going to be high, and we talk about controlling our emotions, and there's nothing to sit back, there's nothing to feel out. We just got to get after it and play our game, and just keep our composure and play our game. And they're going to be fired up. They've been fired up for 2 weeks. This crew, it felt like forever to get here, and this group just kept. They're fired up groups.
Not to single anyone out, but Maddox Schultz, and anywhere he goes now, right? He's got a kind of this brand, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of focus on him. Have you started to see it already? You're expecting a big crowd tonight, and then people mainly in to see this just turned 15-year-old.
I don't know. We'll see. It's been like that for most of it, so I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's going to get attention, and so time will tell here at 7 o'clock tonight. It's hard to tell right now. It's pretty quiet right now, but he's already done a few interviews and so forth. So things won't change. I'm sure there'll be a lot of tension.
Right on, Hodgie. Okay, we'll go get some rest before the game. I know a lot of us will be watching online tonight, and good luck, and maybe we'll catch up tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
All right, good luck to the Regina Pat Canadians tonight, 8 o'clock, hnlive.ca. We're local, right? So we'll be all over these guys all week, keeping you updated on how the Patsies are doing. They'll be joining us again tomorrow. Time for a quick break. It is the Sports Cage for Kellen Solar on this Monday. It is streaming at sportscage.com, as always, on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Maz is with me today for Kellen Solar. Hey, Maz, Riders signed versatile offensive lineman Jameer Ross Johnson. Now, I look up a picture of this guy. Whoa.
It's a monster.
Right away, Curtis and I were joking. It's like that song, Big Bad John. And I'm like, that's what comes to mind. He is 6'5", 300 pounds. SportsCage.com. Go to SportsCage.com and you'll see the picture that Dave put up of him. And it's almost like it's fake.
That's what you need on your O-line. Guys that it's just kind of like, if you're a smaller D lineman, you're like, I don't got one more in me.
Business decision.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'll stay back here in case they throw the screen. I'm all good. I'll track down the carnivore AJ Ouellette if he catches the screen pass. But I'm not trying that left side.
Jameer Ross Johnson's Philadelphia. He's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He transferred to Texas A&M, spending 3 collegiate seasons there, or after spending 3 seasons at Tennessee. So he's very versatile. We'll talk more about that with Darian Durant and what he thinks about this monster. I'm going to ask Darian, what's the biggest O-lineman you ever played in front of? And when does it become a problem as far as throwing the quick slants from right underneath center? Because that guy stands up and all of a sudden he takes the sun out, let alone anything else. Wow, that's a great signing. Another offensive lineman can never have too many of that. Okay, tomorrow is the deadline for the Keniston Super Draft, although the playoffs have already started in the NHL. And I'm filling out mine today, and we're going to do a lot of it on this show. I had to call Western Pizza Guest Hotline. We had to bring in Lotto Lawrence. Lawrence Hinkie is joining us because he is a savant a bit when it comes to this Keniston Super Draft. So Lawrence is on the line. I had him on last year. Lawrence, for people that are thinking, okay, I'm still going to go in this Keniston Super Draft, explain the strategy, the best strategy as far as what you've had success with.
Well, last year, hi Barney, by the way. How are things?
Not bad at all, buddy. Okay. I survived Vegas.
Great. So last year, I got to the Final Four. I had 32 players, all 32 left.
Wow.
So I thought this has never happened before. I'm gonna get in the top 10, right? But there's too many good players, and they score too many points. And the depth guys, like I had Mason Marchment, Duchesne. I had guys that. And second and third liners, they just never got many points. So if you got to still stay with the stars. You got to pick stars, I think, more than you used to.
Even if a guy you think he's only going to be in like for maybe one round?
You got to get two. You want to go 2 rounds, right? Like McKinnon, McCarr, and Rantanen last year, 15, 14, and 15 points. They were in 12 games, they go, so you get 15 to 20 points out of some of these really awesome guys that you can't leave them off. And those are the guys that killed me last year. So don't forget about those guys.
Oh, this makes life difficult now. I'm going 3 entries for a Hyundai. $100.
Yeah, good idea.
The super bonus is 7 entries. This is where you go in with your buddies for $200. Or if you just want to get in the mixer with one, it's only $40. Not bad. Lawrence, a lot of Lawrence is joining us here. Now, can you give us a look behind kind of your curtain and in your brain? Who are you liking going into this one?
Okay, well, we'll start with the West. The West is best. It's stacked, completely stacked. So, Winnipeg, I like them because of the goaltending. And they're not healthy right now, but they're going to get healthier within the next week or two, and they'll get their guys back. Winnipeg beats St. Louis, goes on to the next round. Winnipeg looks good to me. So I like Winnipeg. Colorado is going to beat Dallas. Dallas injuries kill you. Vegas, 15 guys of that Stanley Cup winning team from 2 years ago. A great pedigree there for them. Their defense are just big, tough, good puck-moving guys. I really like Vegas there. And LA over Edmonton. Ekholm being out. I know you got Superman and McDavid and Draisaitl, but not enough when you take a guy who's 30 minutes a game and you take him out of your lineup. Who are you going to replace him with? There's just nobody there. Their goaltending, I didn't think they even knew who was going to start until about an hour ago for tonight's game. So if you don't know after 82 games who your best goalie is, you're in trouble.
Okay, we got about 40 seconds left. Give us the East. What are you thinking East?
So the East,
Core four.
It's magic. Toronto. Toronto looks good. Toronto to me, and Tampa Bay is going to go over Florida. But that bottom group with Washington, Montreal, Carolina, Jersey, who knows? It's a crapshoot there. No Jersey, obviously, no Hughes, no chance there. But Carolina, Washington, I think Montreal, you could maybe upset. They're playing house money, right? You never know there. But I don't like any of those teams. It's going to be the Florida teams or Toronto is coming out of the East. So my Stanley Cup, if you watch Charles Barkley at Edmonton, Toronto, I have two Canadian teams as well. First time since '89, the Flames and the Habs. I got the Leafs and the Jets in the Stanley Cup final. Load up on the Leafs and Jets. They do score goals, and if you do that, you'll probably win Canada, Barney.
Oh, how would that would be an epic let alone just one Canadian team winning it. Lotto Lawrence says two Canadian teams in the final. Ratings in Canada.
No Boston to knock off the Leafs. I think that's been their nemesis. The Leafs finally have goaltending. They added Chris Tanev. They're getting secondary scoring. Craig Berube seems to be much more. They're more mature. They've learned to lose a bit, and now they're going to win. I feel Toronto, Winnipeg, Stanley Cup.
Okay, well you'll see my entries in there. Like I said, I'm putting in 3. Lawrence, thanks so much for taking some time today. Good luck to you as well, my friend.
Thanks, Barney.
Lawrence, what do you think? Quick on that, Maz. What do you agree?
After watching what Toronto did last night, core 4, and the way Stolarz played, and with that power play, they could be a force to reckon with. The Jets, I got to see a few more games against St. Louis.
We're going to be talking Super Draft for the next 24 hours. Deadline is tomorrow at 6 p.m., people. If you feel excited about somebody, you can still get in. So much money. $80K to be won. We're up against news. Eric Francis in hour 2. It's the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. 1 hour in the till. We're back for hour 2. We're going to be talking a lot of NHL hockey in a moment with Eric Francis for Southie Mainline Chrysler as the playoffs continue. I'm going to get his take. I'm not going to write anything down that he says, but I'm going to get his take on my Keniston Super Draft entries that I got to finish. It's Maz and Barney, the Sheriff, and Curtis. If you missed it, the Riders signing today, versatile, it says, offensive lineman Jameer Ross Johnson. This guy could play a lot of different positions, and he is massive. 6'5", 300 pounds. The nickname will be the Eclipse.
If you're standing next to him in line at training camp in the food hall, maybe just let him do his thing first, okay? He's a big man. He needs to eat. And
if you're standing in line anywhere in Regina, you will know who he is. He will be the biggest person in the city. So, yeah, good signing. Another offensive lineman. Can never have too many of those. This weather's turning, Maz, all over the province. Thursday, it's nice again. Deer Valley Golf Course in Regina, open. The only one around that's open. 20% off green fees right now. So if you're thinking about swinging the wrenches on Thursday or Friday looks really good. Deer Valley Golf Course is open. A guy that likes to golf probably already got 3, 4, 5, a dozen rounds in already. Let's go talk to him. It's time to chat with Mr. Francis.
Now for Inside the NHL with Eric Francis on the Sports Cage. Inside the NHL is brought to you by Southie Mainline Chrysler, the newest king of trucks. Worth the drive every time, guaranteed.
Oh, there he is. Hey, I missed you last week, kinda, a little bit.
How was your holiday?
It wasn't a holiday. It was a work trip. Las Vegas.
Yeah.
We started the show. I talked. Get this, Eric. We're at one of the new country establishments there, and there's a band playing. Me and some clients, and we how they want. It's like Nashville. You throw some money in the bucket. Sure. And we give him a couple of softballs with George Strait. And, I think I said Randy Travis. I'm a big 3 Wooden Crosses. I think that's the greatest song ever written. Next to Hard Candy Christmas by Dolly Parton. But anyway, so we throw, and then I said, the next 20, I'm going to challenge him. And he's like, what do you want? And I said, Matchbox 20. And he goes, coming up next after this. And they went into Tonic, which was another 90s banger, like 96, 97, if you could only see. Then they went back-to-back Matchbox 20, killed it. Then they got us in the palm of their hands. You know what it's like. And then they're like, we go another 20. And so then they went, what do you want to hear next? I said, do you know any Three Doors Down? The band laughs. So they rock out Kryptonite to a T, and then he does acoustic version of I'm Here Without You. Unreal.
You're emptying your wallet the whole time. Love it.
I'm a live music nut, man. I did see Jake Owen at an amphitheater. It was one of the worst concerts I've ever seen in my life there, too. So.
Oh, is that right? It's amazing when you go to Nashville or Austin, I've been to, and you go and it's the same thing. It's a $20, put it in the tent, and they'll just take your requests. Like, they have all the technology now, right? You could give them a song they've never even heard of before. Now, clearly that band you were talking about knew the songs, and that was their era, and they loved it, and they thrived on it. But you can give people songs in those places that they've never heard of before, but they'll just tap it out on their little on their iPhone, and up come the chords for the band and the words for the singer, and they figure it out. It's amazing.
If you could drum one song, what's your go-to? Because I know you drum.
Wow, the solo that I could do.
Curtis says Phil
the
Collins
only
in the
solo
air.
that everybody can do the solo from Standing in the Dark from Platinum Blonde. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, that's a good question, man. You know, I don't really have one song, maybe Walk This Way, but I'd want to do the Run DMC version.
Oh.
You know, a little hi-hat. Anyway, we're not getting into that. The beatbox.
I got to get to Calgary this summer. There's so many reasons to go to Calgary.
Yeah, you got to come. You got to come.
Sorry, Matt.
Speaking of that, before we jump into the playoffs, so it was garbage bag day Saturday at the Saddle Dome. They should have just put the whole thing in a bag and took it away, but it was just the players this time around. Was that Sayonara Rasmus Anderson? Is that the last time we see him do it was a, kind of thing underneath the bowels of the dome? I know it was great. No, it was great, but I'm just wondering, is he gone?
Yeah, I mean, that's the column I wrote, that it sure felt like a farewell press conference. And I'm not sure he knows, he might not even know that right now, but I think when he starts delving into the numbers, looking at his options, and realizing that he's either going to have to sign this summer, or the Flames will have no choice but to trade him. I don't know why. I've said this a million times in this spot. Like, I don't know why any player would sign a year ahead of when they have to sign. When all indications are the cap's going to keep going up over the next several years, why would you sign on the dotted line now when you know in a year from now there will be more suitors, more money, more opportunities? Now, every guy's different. Maybe there's the odd case where a guy just says, look, I'm taking a bird in the hand as opposed to wondering what my future is. I want to sign and have that guaranteed life-changing money for now. But I don't see why he'd sign now. He even kind of intonated that. He goes, I just swallowed a bunch of minuses. He had a great quote, but he was minus 38 this year, third worst in the league. Like, the second worst on the Flames was minus 17. His defense partner was minus 7. That's pretty damning, right? Like, and there's a real love-hate in this city. A percentage of people are anti-Anderson and like, I'll sell my season tickets if you sign him long-term, which is ridiculous. But that's the loud, crowd. And then the other portion is just kind of like, look, this guy will block anything. He just told us that garbage bag day, he played the last 12 games with a broken fibula. Like, this guy's a warrior and I think a pretty good teammate, but it'll all come down to money. Flames are not going to be willing to pay him top dollar. He's going to believe, he's going to have a number in mind. It's going to be way higher than what the Flames are willing to offer. There's no way they come to terms on a deal this summer. So that means they have to trade him. To me, it's just pretty logical that that's the way it's going to unfold.
I didn't read your piece, but I heard the boys on Calgary 960 this morning, Fan 960 talking about it. They talked about your piece, and then they were playing the clips because I didn't hear them until this morning, and I was like, "Yeah, you might as well put the Green Day "Time of Your Life" song behind it because he gone." Like,
yeah, I think so. Like, and he's going to be 30 when his new deal kicks in. He's 28 now, but he's looking to hit the 7 or 8 year home run, right? And wrap this thing up with a bow. That's what every guy around 30 wants to do. And there's no way that jives with the Flames timelines because they're not going to be competitive, like seriously competitive. Like I think look, we can talk about it. Like I think they're moving in an incredibly positive direction. Thought this year was a huge success, even though they didn't make the playoffs. I can give you about 18 reasons why. But them being legit contenders, like for the Cup, that's not for 3 or 4 years from now, still in my mind. And by that time, Anderson's numbers are really going to be on the dip.
Playoffs started Saturday. Game 1, Winnipeg, St. Louis.
What?
I think a lot of us were intrigued. What? Okay, Eric, I know you and I were both watching WrestleMania Night 1 from Vegas, but the NHL playoffs started, and there was a couple of games. Winnipeg, St. Louis, and then Dallas, Colorado. I thought Winnipeg looked a little tight to start the game, understandable, and St. Louis, Robert Thomas played well, but then in the end, the Jets, that depth, they just came through and they overpowered him, that Scheifele goal. By the end of the game, they looked dominant. And not that St. Louis isn't skilled, but the Jets just look that much better.
Yeah, I picked the Blues to win that series. So that means Winnipeg will win it. And I feel like they threw their biggest punch right off the bat, and it knocked the Jets back a little bit. Early in that game, it was like, whoa, is this... I think people in Winnipeg are probably clinching a little going, we've seen this game before. And then by the end, Winnipeg calmed down and played their game and took over the game and may very well take over the series. I don't know. But I thought that it was a really, really good counterpunch by the Jets and show their depth. I'm not giving up on my pick if that's what you're about to make fun of me for. I still think the Blues can win it.
I think people in Winnipeg are still going, no. We won the first game last year. Let's just pump the brakes. And So has there been anything that surprised you in the game so far across the board or not really?
Not really. I mean, one thing that I definitely expected too was that Battle of Ontario. You knew it was going to get ugly at some point. Like, there's just a good history there. Any team that's captained by Brady Tkachuk's going to always push back if they lose a game. Doesn't surprise me that it was a laundry list of penalties at the end of that game. Pretty comical clip from the ref, actually, as he listed off everybody on the ice, got 2 minutes for roughing.
His full scap he had.
Yeah, his little Coles Notes cheat sheet. By the way, what age is it that people have no idea what a Coles Note is?
If you're under 30, trust me, I've used it, and it's crickets. Colson isn't here today, but Curtis and the sheriff, Big Al, you guys have any idea what Coles Notes are?
Well, I Googled it, so it's the thing you use.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that like just abbreviated version?
Technically,
there was
yes.
nothing that helped me more in my life than Coles Notes for when we did Shakespeare in high school. I still don't know what that guy's talking about. And you get Coles Notes. The worst. Right? I know, I just gave you some flashbacks. You're so lost. The teacher's reading it with such authority, and then he chooses people around the room to read it, and nobody has a clue what's going on. And you go home that night, and you grab your Coles Notes, and you go, I get it now.
There was always a few kids that were like right in, and the teacher just loved them. And I think they were gathering after school and all sitting around and reading Shakespeare. And it's like, what is this guy, like you said, what is he talking about? And why do I need to know this? just like pie and all that crap. Why do I need to know this? How about I balance the budget?
So all those people in that class that knew what was being said when Shakespeare was being read, what are they doing now? Are they all in IT? Are they running corporations, or are they all just artsy fartsies that are working in the theater?
Guaranteed one of the gentlemen was all over social media doing the pre-voting this weekend. He was in a certain colored sweater. Guaranteed he was one of them. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go sideways here in a hurry. Los Angeles is turning into a sexy pick over Edmonton. I thought I was onto something as I fill out my Keniston Super Draft here. It's become popular.
Yeah, I picked LA as well, and look, the history's not good. What Oilers beat them 3 years in a row. I think they've won a total of 7 games over those 3 series. LA has, but they just set a franchise record for points this year. Like that surprises me. Like with those Gretzky teams and stuff, you thought. But then again, they had Rudy, so nobody stopped the puck. But I don't know. But anyway, the point is, I like that Kings pick too. I really am excited about that series.
What about David Goddard? He was the backup goalie, wasn't he, in NHL 93 in Genesis?
That is a hell of a pull right there. Every time I see those goalies from the 90s, and like I always say to Rudy, like, why didn't you mix a save in every once in a while? Like just for giggles, like all the guy. I think that Mike Bossy is the most underrated goal scorer in the history of the game, but he scored like 90% of his goals 2 strides over the blue line, lets the clapper go far side, and it's yard sale for Kelly Rudy. His helmet and his gloves go flying off, and he had no chance on it because his pads were, an inch thick. But so, he was a great goal scorer, and his goals per game, I think, is like 3rd all time. But does it really count? Because all it was is he had the hardest shot in an era where goalies couldn't save anything outside of 20 feet.
Well, here, if you're an LA Kings fan, you better hope that Darcy Kemper stays healthy and nothing happens to him. Because if you got to go to Big Save Dave Riddick, it's all over for the Kings. Like the fact that somebody picked him up after the Flames, if the Flames are not re-signing you, that should be a good sign that maybe you're not long for the league. But Big Save Dave has managed to survive a couple of years in LA, but he is not the answer if Kemper goes down. I like Kemper. Good Western Hockey League guy. How can you not like that?
His numbers are sick, guys. Like I was filling out my ballot for the Vezina, and actually we don't do the Vezina. We have to do the All-Star team for the goalies and All-Star team for everybody, but amongst other things. So we do all the major awards. But when I was looking at the goaltenders, like, you guys tell me, okay, obviously Hellebuck wins everything. He's the best goalie by 100 miles. He's number 1 on my Hart Trophy ballot too, which I don't think I've ever voted for a goalie. But I put him on there because he was that much better. But you look at number 2 and 3 in the league, I always thought it was Ottinger, maybe Thompson in Washington. You look at the numbers, it's really obvious. Kemper had the 2nd best numbers in the National Hockey League this year. So people, nobody watches the Kings, out on the West Coast because it's so late. But they've quietly gone about doing what they've done because of guys like Kemper. Well, only because of Kemper, because as you said, Riddick, he ain't getting the job done.
It was David Goverty, not David Goddard. I knew it was something like that. David Goverty.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Rick Knickel was pushing him for the backup spot back in those days in Los Angeles.
Rick Knickel, I've been on the phone with Rick Knickel in the last year. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, hilarious. Honest to God, he's out in Vancouver.
What's he doing? Is he working at a Meineke? Were you calling him to get some repair work done?
I love it.
Minute Muffler, Rick speaking. No, Colorado.
Free shout-outs. Jeez, it's a tough economy and you're giving away advertising? Come on.
Colorado, Dallas, like everyone is so big on Colorado, and now it looks like there's Landeskog's been removed, and there's that whole emotional thing that's going to go down. Like, how does Dallas push back here? I watched a bit of that game. Like, I didn't think Dallas was that bad, but are we writing off your Stars?
No, it just fell apart at the end.
Well, it is funny because you talk about everyone big on Colorado. Everyone was down going into the playoffs on the Stars. I do think they lost 7 in a row or 6 of their last 7, but they were resting guys, and Ottinger wasn't playing much, and DeSmith wasn't playing well, and but I was the same way. We've had this conversation here many times. Like, Stars were my pick to win the Cup last year, and I still think that an argument can be made that they might be the deepest team in the league still, but without Heiskanen. And also the way they finished this year. And I'm not sure I have the faith in Ottinger that I used to have either. All those things combined, and then you look at Colorado and how they bolstered themselves up the middle so well. I get it. I get why everyone, and I flip too. I picked Colorado to win that series because I just think that depth is there that matches the Stars, but also the high end. The high end talent in Colorado far exceeds the high end talent in Dallas.
The Rantanen thing is quite comical as well. It's like he came and now you're playing Colorado.
Can you believe it?
You got to get in the series in a big way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that series is over. I'm certainly not calling for a sweep or anything. I think that's going to go 6 or 7. But I do think that they go in advantage Avs in a big way. And it's it's the same when I look at the Kings. I still think the Kings are going to beat the Oilers because the Oilers don't have any depth anymore. They're nowhere near what they were last year. But they still have, the 2 of the top 3 or 4 players in the world. I don't know how healthy they are, but, that gives you a chance anyway.
We had Ross Mahoney on in hour number 1. He's the assistant general manager of the Washington Capitals. And if there has ever been a Rodney Dangerfield team going into a playoffs, it's the Washington Caps. Everybody, even the most casual hockey fans, are like, I don't believe that regular season. They don't got a chance. Montreal's probably going to win. No chance here. Ross would disagree. Alexander Ovechkin, the grade 8. I don't necessarily see this as a cakewalk for Montreal.
No, God, a cake, no. Put it this way, I'm not all that impressed with Montreal, but I took them to beat the Caps because the Caps, the way they finished the season, the Ovi hype and spotlight's over. Protas is out. Their goaltending was horrific the last 3 weeks of the season. There are a lot of things that kind of conspired for me to say the same thing. Like, even if they do get by Montreal, I don't think anybody in the league thinks that Washington is for real, can get by someone in the second round. You're right. Isn't that amazing how the sentiment changes so quickly? I mean, they were the second best team in the National Hockey League this year. They obviously did it because of some crazy depth. Strome is very underrated. They've got depth pieces that nobody talks about. But and I know that at the top of that list is your Andrew Mangiapane. I'm just kidding because I love it. I love Maj, but and he's a fourth liner. He's a fourth liner on that team right now. It's amazing. So I'll be watching that series.
It's funny because Maz said, right, like how almost listening. It's almost like Montreal's the favorite, and it's like, whoa, easy.
Yeah,
JT Marlin stock. No, like we still remember that the Washington Capitals are a real deal. Okay, we're going to bring this full circle, and we started talking about Garbage Bag Day with the Flames. We're going to play the clip here, and then we're going to talk about Jim Rutherford's comments today.
Down to money with him. He said before he wants to play with his brothers, and that would be partly out of our control, in our control if we brought his brothers here. So there's many moving parts here. Agree 100%. This franchise cannot afford to lose a guy like Quinn Hughes, and we will do everything we can to keep him here. But at the end of the day, it'll be his decision. Well, we got to be careful with tampering here, so we'll just leave it at that.
He's obviously talking about Quinn Hughes. We talked about on this show a few months ago, and I was like, I strongly feel there is no way that Vancouver is going to be able to keep him. And he was just like, the things are piling on. It's like the divorce. It's like, yeah, I remember when you did this, and then you did this, and then you did this. And then, not that I've ever been divorced, but it's like, Maz, you can speak to that. But it's like, we have so many issues, and it's like the brothers ain't coming to Vancouver. But if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan today, Eric, you are like you're burning something somewhere.
Well, and that's the Vancouver way, right? They like to burn things. So, good way of putting it. Look, what a gong show. What an absolute gong show. And you know what? Jim Rutherford's got to stand there and understand that he's been a big part of the problem with this mess, right? Him and Alvin they haven't dealt with this properly. I will still maintain they traded the wrong guy this year. That room is completely dysfunctional by every account. Anyone I've talked to just says it's just an absolute mess. No one wants to be there. And that's how you lose superstars. I bet Quinn Hughes before this season was probably thinking, yeah, I'll sign in Vancouver for an extra 8 years and I'll cash in big time. But now, after what he just went through this year, who wants to be part of that gong show, right? And the fans, I'm scared to say anything negative about the fans, so I'll just say the fans. And that's all I'm saying. And, it's just not a place where I think many guys want to be right now. That is an interesting clip that you just played. Boy, is that close to tampering, too, as he alluded to.
He is the problem if he doesn't know the line on tampering. And then how delusional are you to think that the Hughes brothers are going to come your way?
Yeah.
Like the only thing you maybe would have is Quinn Hughes to trade, but you can't do that because you're trying to. It's like, buddy, the game might have passed you by.
Yeah, that's a thought I've had for quite a long time when it comes to him, and that's partly why they've got Alvin in place to kind of take it over. But I'm not sure the face should be there either. So anyway, it's an absolute mess, and as I always say, we on this side of the mountains, on the correct side of the mountains, absolutely love it. When when everything's falling apart over there, it looks good on them.
Well, there's no denying the talent of all of the Hughes brothers, but and I heard this on a show earlier today, and I can't remember which one, they're not big in stature, and they are injury prone. It's been shown. And somebody like a Quinn Hughes playing defense, that's a tough spot to be. You're getting pounded all the time, and guys are coming after you, and there's going to be wear and tear.
47 minutes a night.
Exactly. And that's what I worry about with them. They're so talented, but it's the durability because they're not monsters. They're not built that way. They're not, like a monster, like Vegas has 6 of them on their decor. That's what I worry about them is it's not talent. It's longevity, being able to stay healthy in a game that still is physical at times.
Yeah. I mean, Jack has been going through the ringer his whole career. He just can't stay healthy. But Quinn, look, there's no question in my mind. And Quinn, even to me, almost narrowed the gap this year between him and Makar. I've always said Makar's here, and I don't know, I guess Quinn's here. But man, watching Quinn in the few games I did see him this year, I'm like, okay, I get it. When he is healthy, he's as dominant, almost as dominant as Makar. But yeah, the health thing is part of it. But hey, every team in the league would love to have him.
Starting tonight at 8 o'clock, Eric, Saskatchewan time, and Alberta time too, I guess now. Regina Pat Canadians, first game of the TELUS National Midget AAA Championship. Maddox Schultz and the Regina Pat Canadians. So we're following that all week here. So we'll keep you up to date too on how the Pat C's and young Maddox do.
Will be very interested in that. That's awesome. I'm glad he got him there. That's not surprising. I mean, what a talent. I loved watching him in Calgary this year. Whoa. Yeah.
And you get to watch him again next year.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
Okay, my man.
You guys get to catch up on Wednesday. Go practice those drum solos, And then I get to talk to you next week.
Standing in the dark. You know the solo I'm talking about? Check it out.
Solo,
it's
I know
as
the
simple as
song.
it comes.
I'll listen to it on the way home in my Cutlass.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the dumbest, most simple. It's like the Phil Collins song.
In the air tonight.
Yeah, like the easiest little drum riff ever. So that's right up my alley.
I thought you were going to do Wipeout. Okay, Eric Francis, our NHL insider for Southie Mainline Chrysler. If you're tired of feeling cramped in your vehicle, for $153 weekly, you can get into the 2024 Chrysler Grand Caravan or the 2024 Ram 3500. Right now, you can save $11,000. Southie Mainline Chrysler, worth the drive every time. Southie, the new king of trucks. We'll go to break, and then we'll come back and unwrap. And then Clutch Performer. It's a sports cage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Clutch Performer. Okay, I got one. And it's unfortunate how it ended up, but Marie-Philippe Poulin, Canada women's hockey team, she became the all-time leading scorer for Canada at the Women's Worlds on the weekend. And then they lost in overtime to the Americans, to the USA.
That was a bad goal. That was ugly.
3-on-3 overtime on the big ice for the World Championship. Hey, I get we all love 3-on-3 overtime, but clue in
I
people.
hated it. Don't cheapen the game. You play 5-on-5, play 5-on-5. I don't care about a tie. But in a championship game, 5-on-5.
Oh, 5-on-5, absolutely.
Like, I know, but even in the regular season in the NHL, who cares if it was a tie? I know.
That's exciting. 3-on-3 is exciting in regular season. But the poor defenseman gives it away. It's on her. It could be on the lady that went and changed, but she gave just a nice pizza right up to the American.
Oh, that was
that
was a terrible line change. Terrible line change.
And giveaway. But anyway, our clutch performer for next service in Emerald Park, Marie-Philippe Poulin, is mine. Anyone else got one? Around the horn?
I got one.
I got one. Go.
Sheriff is excited about this. Let's go to Sheriff.
Okay, Sheriff, go ahead.
I just want to say before Maz says it, John Cena winning his 17th World Championship in WWE, breaking Ric Flair's record of 16. I feel like
Sports Cage After Hours. What's yours, Maz?
My clutch performer, staff at Elections Canada working the advanced polls. A record amount of people voted on Friday, over 2 million. My wife and I stood in line for over an hour to vote. And it was intense. I've never seen so many people lined up to vote, ever. But the staff, it was taking a long time. They were dialed. They had people going in the... We just happened to be in 607, and 607 apparently was the neighborhood that, I don't know, had the slowest table or something, but everybody else around us, but to them, because trust me, I've never marked an X more crisp or bolder than ever before on that piece of paper. I made sure I crossed that thing like 20 times to make sure. So
did you take your own
everybody
pen
there?
Isn't that a thing now? Everyone's taking their own pen. Can you?
No, you can, but there were pens in ours. There were pens and pencils. So I used a pen because I'd already seen that, where some people are like, no, take a marker or a pen so they can't change it. But you drop it in the ballot box yourself, and there was people there. Like, I get it. The only thing that scares me when it comes to voting are those electronic machines, and there have been some, but this is all paper and counting, so that's fine. But did you see in Ontario where Poilievre's riding is? Because you can do this. There's, I believe, 81 people on the ballot. There's 81 people on the piece of paper if you wanted to vote in his riding in Carleton, Ontario, just because you can do that. It's a real D-bag move, but you could do that anywhere because that's legal if you file the paperwork.
Oh, I want to see one of the cards. That's intense. That's a piece of loose leaf.
Did you vote yet?
Not yet. I was gone. I was elbows down in the United States of America, I remember. Watching cover bands.
Well, you
can't clutch performer.
You can still go today. The advanced polls are open until 9, and then you have to wait until election day next Monday.
Yeah, I'll go old school on Monday. Yeah, and yeah, I'd love to get so political for the next 3 hours. We're not going to. Clutch Performer for Nick Service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. Call 781-1077. It is the Sports Cage. We are streaming at sportscage.com and on your election coverage home, 620 CKRM. It's a Regina Pat Canadians game day, 8 p.m. puck drop in Chilliwack against the hosts, the Fraser Valley Thunderbirds. We'll keep you updated tomorrow, and they play a little bit earlier tomorrow, so we'll keep you updated here. We're your home for local sports. SJHL off until Wednesday in Weyburn. Wednesday, Thursday, games 3 and 4 there. Western Hockey League, we got game 7 in Calgary between Lethbridge and Calgary on Wednesday. Tomorrow, game 7, Everett and Portland. And Spokane, they're up 3-2 on Victoria. Game 6 on Tuesday. We're getting some texts in the Prairieland Rental text line. Thanks to everyone who's texting in. 936-6262. Prairieland Rentals and Sales since 1986. 600 Albert Street. If you need anything for that project that now that all the snow's gone, you got to do. And they got the Husqvarna deals on right now. Some good deals on Husqvarna's Prairieland Rentals. Someone from the 204 texted in, are the Jets playing today? You should know that if you're in Manitoba, because I suspect you are a Jets fan. And yes, that starts at 5:30 our time. So we'll still be on the air here. Maybe I should order some pizza pie and just sit and watch it here. But yeah, that is one of the games this evening. The Avalanche and Stars. And then, gee, am I intrigued. Oilers Kings. Excuse me. Keniston Super Draft tomorrow at 6 o'clock is the deadline. So if you still want to get in on a hockey pool, like I do, I'm doing the 3 for $100, $40 an entry. You can do 7, give some friends, your splurge club, wine club, whatever, 7 for $200. And there you go, $80,000 up for grabs.
I love the fact that you won't go in advance and vote, but you will prioritize the Keniston Super Draft.
Absolutely. Hey, we had this debate. We had a great debate on the shuttle to golf one day. Not a debate. Everyone agreed. I firmly believe that, I don't know what the data would be. It'd be in the 90 percentile. You can tell a way a person votes by how they dress and how their hair is.
Yeah, I would say that'd be pretty accurate. Like I could tell standing in line for voting. Oh, funny story from standing in line. So we get there. There's probably 30 people in line ahead of us, and our next door neighbors are at the front of the line with their adult son.
Is this the Harley Davidson guy?
Not Harley Davidson guy. He's 3 houses over. Our next door neighbor, from time to time, he's been known to cut half the grass between the houses. Like he will deliberately... If he were just to drive the lawnmower off the skinniest strip of grass between our houses, it would cut all of the grass. But he will deliberately, from time to time, not always, but we moved in 2008. He's been doing it since then. He will cut half the grass. Hell, the snow shovel will stop. And I always cut all of the grass because that's a D-bag move.
Big time.
So my wife spots them. They're like, oh, there's so-and-so up front. So when they're coming out, the wife pretends to not see us and just totally is trying to get by. But then he stops. He's like, oh, hey, guys, how's it going? And then she had to stop and say hi. Their adult son doesn't know who we are because he's been living, but then he had to move back home like a lot of kids in their mid-20s with mom and dad. So it was really funny. And I'm like, yep, she was just going to pretend like she didn't see us. And we're standing in this tight little hallway of the church just trying to, and so I'm like,
how awkward.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is if it's 4 p.m. and you're in pajama pants, have you given up on the day? Like, are you just like, I got nothing. This is the best it's going to be.
And you're going for your second big gulp of the day, and you have the cup, your reusable cup, and then you're complaining about the healthcare system. You're part of the problem. Did you know that? Anyway, yeah, you can tell. You can kind of tell about 90% the way they dress and their hair. Hair color.
Everybody was very careful if they were making small talk to be like super extra whispery. So you didn't say anything that may give it away because you don't know who's standing in line in front or behind you and how they're going to vote, or and it's a hot button issue because politics now is crazier than ever, and people are nuts.
Prairieland Rentals text line, Roscoe from Kindersley said, advanced polls, an hour.
Yeah. We were a solid hour.
In Kindo.
Yeah. In Kindersley. All right.
I wonder if what polling station was at the Red Lion. That'd be nice. You could have a stand-up wonton soup while you're in line for an hour. Great idea. Keniston Super Draft. So I've started checking up, but then we talked to Lawrence in hour one. And I don't know, because I went basically like heavy on one, Carolina, Tampa Bay, because I think those two meet in the Eastern Conference Final. Part of me thinks that. And then on the other side, I was going to do, I don't know why I got the spot for Los Angeles, man. But Los Angeles would play Vegas if they win in the next round, probably.
Yeah, so are you thinking Colorado and LA in the Western Conference Final?
No, I'm almost. It's crazy, but I like Winnipeg. I like Winnipeg. My kids were in their school one, and I was in Vegas, and they're like, "Who do we take from?" And I said, "You know what? You guys are old enough now. I'm letting you. Dad likes these teams, but you guys go." So then my son texts me, and I think I was like on a heater at blackjack table too, and he's like, "Okay, Ehlers or Morrissey?" And I said, you got to decide that. You got to do the research, and you got to decide that. So then he takes Ehlers, and then we're watching the game at Baba's on Saturday, and then Ehlers is like week to week, and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I said, "Well, for starters, I didn't know." And I'm like, "Hey, you made a decision. You're 13, going on 14.
I love the fact that it would have been like 10:15 in the morning on a school day, and you're sitting at a blackjack table texting your kids advice about a hockey draft while they're in school. Who's running the education system?
And just riding on a high from the Matchbox 20 cover band the night before. What a world. What a time to be alive.
Speaking of Father of the Year, maybe we just call Father's Day early. I think the guy in the blue hoodie is hands down your winner. There isn't even a second place dad coming in this year, 2025.
Okay, we got a break for news. And some fantastic weather reports. It is a Sports Cage, sportscage.com, and on the home,
the weather.
The Saskatchewan Rough Riders, 620 CKRM. It's Barney and Maz, Curtis, and the Sheriff for our friends at Kellen Solar on this Monday. If you're speeding home to get home to watch puck drop of the Habs and Washington Capitals, you still have some time. You still have some time. They're just doing the scene setters, not even at the anthems yet. Big game tonight. Also, big game for the Regina Pat Canadians. 8 p.m. puck drop at the TELUS. Game number 1. We'll be watching that on HN Live. That's what we'll be watching. We'll update you tomorrow for game 1 and game 2 as they play earlier today. Maz, we talked about the weather, and Deer Valley Golf Course is open with 20% off rates. And everyone's like, yeah. And then the weather's turning here until Thursday. It's like, oh,
I know.
Come on.
Like you can't. And then the other, if you are that type of person that likes to go a little too hard, a little too fast, sure, great. Maybe you do get out early, but you blow something out. And next thing you know, you're at the chiropractor 4 times in the next 10 days because you didn't warm up and you haven't swung a golf club since last October. Yeah. There's always that guy.
You can call and make tee times for Thursday and Friday, though. They're the only one open in the Regina area as of right now, from what we hear at the Sports Cage. You can text us, Prairieland Rentals text line. Husqvarna days are on 936-6262. Also, before we get to Darian, I got to say, on the 29th, so next week, Tuesday, I forgot about this. Buck Cherry and Steel Panther at the Connexus Arts Center. It's the Northern Exposure Tour. Now, coming off the cover bands and what I saw in Vegas and that excitement, I haven't seen Buck Cherry live in a while. Never seen Steel Panther. Curtis is a big Steel Panther fan.
I saw Steel Panther at a radio convention 10, 12 years ago when they were quite new. Mm-hmm. But so if you have no idea what a Steel Panther is, picture 80s hair metal, but they don't do covers, which I didn't know, and I was a little disappointed because there are a lot of 80s hair metal cover bands. They sing originals, but it's written kind of like tongue-in-cheek 80s, where they're kind of taking the you-know-what out of it. But it's funny. Like, you can't not be entertained.
No, it's going to be a great show. I think we're going to have tickets to give away later in the week to that. That's Tuesday at the Connexus, Steel Panther. In Buck Cherry, you can get your tickets at Connexus. All right, let's talk some football, maybe a little hockey with doubles.
It's time for Double Talk with Saskatchewan Roughrider legend Darian Durant. Double Talk is brought to you by Campbell Safety Consulting. At Campbell Safety Consulting, we work towards helping companies create a competitive edge by executing a proactive health and safety program.
All right, Darian. Now, I don't know if you went to SportsCage.com, saw the picture. But the Riders sign, it says, versatile offensive lineman Jameer Ross Johnson. And look at the picture of him. He's 6'5", 300 pounds. Like, that is so big. I said, I got to ask Darian the question. What's the biggest offensive lineman you played in front of, Darian? Who was it?
Oh, wow. I would have to go with a guy, he's from Texas. We used to call him Big Country. His name was Jeb Terry. He went on to have a pretty good career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he was just a massive, massive guy. And when I tell you over 300 pounds with very little body fat, that was kind of my first experience with a guy over, 300 pounds. That was just pure muscles. It was just amazing.
How tall? How tall would he have been?
Jeb is 6'6".
Oh, like, does that pose a problem? Yeah. Like throwing those, quick under center, maybe an inside slant or something when a guy's that tall? He'd be like, hey, you got to stay down a little bit longer. What do you say to him?
Yeah, for a guy like me, it is. I mean, for the bigger quarterbacks, of course, they can see over the line. But I'll tell you, at least 60 to 70% of the time, I never saw the receiver. I just was thrown to a spot because, I had to learn early. I was 5'10" coming out of high school. And, when you go to a Division I university, that's going to be your first experience with your 6'5", 6'6" offensive lineman. So I had to learn fast and adjust. So it was pretty a good experience for me.
Speaking on the other side of the ball, Willie Jefferson's made a career of it. He's the best in the CFL. Knockdowns. As a quarterback, is that the biggest piss off as a knockdown as opposed to a drop pass or something else? Because it almost seems like it's like a wasted play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially if you have an open receiver and you're about to hit him, and then Big Willie jumps up and, excuse my language with Big Willie there. I don't know why that came out like that, but when he jumps up and he, bats the ball down, it just takes your breath away, man. Especially when you have an open receiver.
What was there one guy that came off that edge that had your number? Maybe something tricked. Maybe got the hands up late.
I hate giving this guy credit because he talks so much trash, but he's a dear friend of ours in the show. It's Charleston Hughes, man. He just had my number.
I know, and he had he was a menace. Yeah. Like he had a decade of dominance.
Has me sweating a little bit, He just knew how to play the game, man. It was crazy.
The one thing about Charleston, besides being a character, is he was so in tune with the game and so smart. Like when we were talking to him, he's like, oh, there's plenty of times I knew what the play was going to be before it was called. And like, he knew what the offense was going to do. And I'm like, he just said, just sometimes you just know. And then you could react to it. Cause I remember when he was on his game, like some of those years in Calgary, 7, 8, and 9, he was so good and just so dominant. I love the fact that he ended up playing 2.5-ish years here in Rider Nation, but man, he trust me, if you hated him, so did we when he was playing with the Stamps.
There were 3 guys from my era, and that was John Bowman, Charleston Hughes, and Odell Willis. And just all 3 of those guys, they were students of the game. And when you put smart defenders with you mix it with that athletic ability, that's why you have 3 Hall of Fame guys right there.
Do you think that, when you go back and maybe now you watch younger kids, where's the switch? What is the switch where it clicks that they become so, a student of the game or so mentally, instead of just athletes, because there can be so many athletes, and doesn't matter what sport you're talking, but you got to think that game, right? In football, Darian, from what you saw, is there something? Is it, how young does it usually happen?
You know what? I wouldn't put an age number on it. The thing I think is very important is if you can have more than one coordinator before you get to a higher level of football, now you can see different schemes. You can, compare the terminology. You can say, okay, well, this is the old, so-and-so that I ran with Coach Cortez back in 2010. You can now start putting these things together. And now when you don't have to go out there and think, you can just play the game. Now you can just let your athletic ability take over. So I think once you can take the thinking aspect out of it, your plays, you know what to do, then you can just be a full-time athlete after that.
Who in the CFL right now has that it factor that they're a student of the game and what they've learned shows up almost every play? Who impresses you like that?
I mean, it's a guy you named. It's Willie Jefferson. I mean, year in and year out, even if his sack numbers are down, he still finds ways to impact the game, whether it's knockdown passes, whether it's just hurries, fumble recoveries. He always seems to just know what's going on and has that knack for just being around the football. So Willie Jefferson, and I'm just glad that I got out of the league before he really, really hit his prime, because I didn't want to see him at that point in time.
It's Double Talk with Darian Durant for Campbell Safety Consulting. If you don't have a workplace safety program, call Campbell Safety Consulting. Now, it was the Trevor Harris story about how he would like to maybe get into the broadcast booth after football. And, his social media, so many people are like, yeah, there you go. You don't have a quarterback. He wants to broadcast. It's like, mouth breather central out there. But, a guy's thinking ahead. When you were playing, Darian, you were getting near the end of your career. Were you thinking about different things that you'd want to, maybe dabble in, go back into, maybe use some of that schooling? And what were those things?
The main thing I wanted to do was I definitely wanted to be involved with football, but not so much in the coaching aspect. I think, when you get into coaching, now you continue with the long hours and, and it's just not a lot of security in coach, for sure. It's just not a lot of security, right? I mean, I always say this when I go to speaking engagements or things of that nature, is that your quarterback getting hurt away from losing your job as a coach. And so I didn't want to put myself, I've seen that happen time and time again, and I didn't want to put myself in that situation. So I wanted to go into personnel. I wanted to, and I still do. I still want to, whether it's scouting or being in a front office somewhere, working my way up to GM, hopefully one day. That's the goal. I feel like I have an eye for talent and just being around the game and knowing what's going on. So being on the personnel side is definitely something I love to do.
If you're talking about, having the GMI and seeing that, the kids nowadays, and we talked about this with the Tennessee, the NIL money, and how it's just it's a real sharp left turn hitting the brick wall in college sports down there or whatever. Do you have to sit down and have an honest conversation with these kids and their parents to see, should you even spend any time with them to know, listen, they're just in it for the money, or this kid actually loves the game of football?
Absolutely. I mean, nowadays it's so hard for coaches to reach these kids and be able to be mentors or father-like figures, because these kids care nothing about building relationships. They all want just the money and, what can you do for me? And so you have to sit down with these parents because the kids are babied. I heard a quote. I think I was listening to a certain podcast, and they said that kids these days aren't used to the tough road. They aren't used to being told no. You grow up, you're the best athlete as a junior, and then you're the best athlete as you get into high school and college. So there's not much trouble you go through or walls or hills you have to climb to reach a certain level. And then when you get told no, when you get that type of coach, or you get to a certain level and you get cut, or you may not be a starter like you used to be, you don't know how to take it. You don't know how to act. So these agents or coaches or whoever's in charge of these kids, they have to be straight up with them. You can't sugarcoat anything, and you have to make sure they know that everything may not work out the way they expect it to.
Yeah, like the adversity piece for kids we're all parents, right? And hey, just like my kids' hockey draft, a little bit of adversity, Dad's not going to help you figure out that Ehlers isn't. But no, it's true. The other thing, Darian, do you see also that agents have changed as well? Like, I almost see it maybe more so when I hear stories in hockey where the kids are coddled by them as well, right? And everybody's got a voice to a coach, where it used to be the coach and the GM, they set the rules. And now you got parents calling it this, and you got agents calling it this. Do you see that as well in football?
Yeah, and it's a big problem. But I think more than that, these are kids, man. These guys are 17, 18, 19 years old. Brains not fully developed. They don't understand. They don't know who to trust. And then you're hearing things from your parents, and then you have an agent coming along who's promising the parents that their lives can change as well. And it all falls on the kid. And so it's just a tough situation, and I hate it for these kids because now there's so much money, at their disposal, and they feel like they can just reach out there and touch it, and then they're just getting bad advice, picking bad situations, not going to the right school, the right fit, the right system. They're just chasing the money, and you just set yourself up for disappointment that way.
One of the things I always wanted to ask your brother, Justin, and maybe you know the answer to this, because it's no secret, a lot of guys, if they do make the NFL, career is about 3 years. Most of them blow through all of their money. A lot of them have entourages. They make bad decisions. They've got a lot of people on the payroll. When your brother played for the Falcons or the Cowboys, are the entourages allowed in the facility or around the team or whatever? Or is like, no, you 12 guys got to wait out here for your bro because he's got work to do? Like, how do they do that? Because some of these guys are rolling 20 deep these days.
Yeah, well, I mean, most entourages aren't allowed at the practice facility, but that's where you are during the week. You're at the practice facility, and then game day, then you go to the big gigantic stadium where any and everyone is allowed in. The entire entourage is usually after the game. There's a huge room that everyone's friends and family comes in, and it maybe a couple hundred people in there, but depending who you are, there's nothing they can do. If you're a big time player, you can bring in 50 guys if you want. So it's just that at that level, it's all about your production. Does your production meet what your expectations are off the field? And it's kind of sort of like the Russell Wilson deal. They got tired of him, the parking up front at the practice facility, demanding, his own space on road games, secret flights, different things like that. And then when the production slacks off, you don't get those perks anymore. So it just depends on how you're producing on the field.
Did you guys have one of those rooms with the riders, or is like a bunch of Western pizza and Molson's?
No, I wasn't that big time, man. So no, the riders were great to everyone's family. They made everyone's family just feel like one.
Yeah.
So that's what I appreciate about the riders.
Okay, can we talk NFL draft here?
Let's do it.
I'm not like always super in tune with the draft. I don't know where you land on this, Maz, but where do you think Shedeur Sanders is gonna? Is he gonna be a first rounder?
Oh, yeah, I think he'll be a first rounder for sure. I don't think he'll make it past the top 10. I mean,
really?
Look, if you look at the teams that need a quarterback, you have the Giants, you have the Browns, you have the Saints. And I think that one of those teams, there'll be a fool not to grab him. I mean, there's a lot of hype behind him. Don't get it wrong. But if you just look at the numbers, man, and I was looking at ESPN today, when there's no pressure around him, he's clipping at over 80%. And that's unheard of. So if you can get in a good situation where you can just be a point guard, you have Kellen, and I'm thinking about the New Orleans Saints and Kellen Moore and what he did to help develop Dak Prescott early on. If you can get into a good situation with a good OC and a system where you can just be a facilitator, you're in a good spot.
Is Sanders that like cerebral player that we talked about earlier, that student of the game? Do you see him as that guy?
Yeah, I do. The game just comes natural to him. I mean, it doesn't matter where he goes, what situation he's in. He just seems to produce. Now, a lot of people don't like, the way he is off of the field, and I get that. And a lot of that has to do with the arrogance of his pops.
Entourage guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, entourage guy.
You have to watch out for that. But he's an efficient quarterback.
I don't want to back up your point here, but did you know over the weekend that they retired Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter's jerseys at the University of Colorado? They've got them up in the state. They played there 2 years, and they both have a losing record, and they retired their jersey.
That just
the most
tells
interesting
you the desperation that program was in, right?
The most interesting thing about the NFL draft for me is I saw the Pivot podcast on the weekend, Ryan Clark, and they interviewed Lane Kiffin, to me, who's the most entertaining coach in college football. He has had a roller coaster, but his talent always comes back, and he's a smart guy. He's 4 years sober. Now, obviously, life's different now because it was crazy before. Jackson Dart, and he thinks this, will be the steal of the draft, the sleeper. Whoever gets him is going to get themselves a really good quarterback. That lately, the hype in the past couple of weeks has been building and building. Wasn't necessarily on the top tier radar like a Cam Ward, but he thinks Jackson Dart's going to be a good NFL quarterback.
And I agree. I think that whenever you can have production in the SEC and you're not your Georgias, your Alabamas, your top tier teams, and you can have the type of production that he's had, then you're a good player. I mean, if you look at a couple of his receivers, I'm not sure their names right now, but they've always been in the top 5 of receiving Americans for the past couple of years. So he definitely has the best deep ball in the draft. If he can get into a good situation, and like I always say, whenever you're picking late draft, that's what you hope for a quarterback, because you're going to a pretty good team. This is probably a playoff team if you can get after 15, 16. A playoff team, solid foundation, just missing a couple pieces. And if you happen to get picked by one of those teams that need a quarterback, then you're going to be in a good situation. So I think for him, it's going to be a blessing going later in the draft because he'll go to a team with a solid foundation.
I've heard, and it wasn't a pod, but I was actually reading that in the mock drafts that Travis Hunter, who had his jersey retired by Colorado, picked 2 to the Browns, and the Browns are talking like they're going to use them at both positions. How hard is that going to be, Darian? And do you think that is going to happen?
First of all, it's unheard of, especially full time. Now, I do think that he'll, be sporadic. I think what's best for him would be a receiver. Honestly, I think you're going to take less hits. He's not a big guy. And, when you have to come up and tackle these guys like a Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, these big backs, it can take its toll on your body. So I think for him, it'll be best for him to, focus on receiver, get into a situation where you can learn a playbook, but then you go help out the defensive side of the ball. Let your athletic abilities take over. They already have a number 1 corner in Cleveland and Denzel Ward. So there won't be a lot of pressure for him to come in and be a lockdown guy. So he can have some guys, to learn from, but I think he should focus on receiver, and that'll definitely help his body because there's no way you can come up and tackle these guys at the running back position.
All right, go back to your Rider Nation days. Who would have been a better wide receiver DB combo? Would it have been Weston Dressler or Chris Getzlaff, who could not only catch, but then lay the lumber when they needed to on the defensive side of the ball? You can only pick one. There's no friends here.
Nah, Getz is going to hate me for this, but there's no way I think Getz can backpedal at all. He's not coordinated enough to backpedal. So I would have to go with Dress on that. Dress is a lot smoother. A little bit better athlete, and Getz knows I love him, but he just seeing Getty backpedal is just unheard of for me.
Hey, I've seen him on skates. He can pivot, on the blades pretty well, but that's a good one.
As long as he's going forward, he's good.
Yeah. All right, Darren. Thanks a lot. Good one today. Let's see how that draft shakes down, and then we can recap again next Monday before the CFL draft.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Right on. That is Double Talk with Darian Durant. If you got harassment in the workplace, it's a big one these days. A lot of companies don't handle it correctly. Call Campbell Safety Consulting. They can help you. Campbell Safety Consulting. Look them up on Google. They are the sponsor of Double Talk. Maz 0-0. Caps and Montreal, but poor Montembeault, I think, in net for Montreal. Did he get a barrage of quality shots early? For it to be 0-0 right now is shots are 9-5 now, halfway through the period.
I like that Verizon Center where the Caps play. It's lively. They've always had good crowds. I like some of the American barns. It's funny watching the game from Vegas yesterday. It's Vegas. It's nuts. They're going crazy. Even the Leafs game, the crowd seemed into it, and that's a corporate crowd. But maybe because it was a weekend, they were a little more juiced. But
more and more rinks. We got to go to break now, guys. More and more rinks are starting to have certain people behind the players' boxes where the camera pans often. I think we got some of that going on tonight in Washington. It is the SportsCage. Connect the dots. It is the SportsCage. We are on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. It's a Regina Pat Canadians game day. We're covering it here because that's what we do. We are locals. SportsCage, 8 o'clock puck drop. You can watch it on, what would they say, HLN Live?
I was on the TELUS. I was on the TELUS Cup website, and I know that there's Flow, there's Live Bar, and theirs is HLN Live. And if you go there and you click on the game, there is a link to get you signed up. And when we tried last week, obviously there was nothing there yet, but it's there now. And like Barney said, you got to make an account, go in, do your thing.
Really easy. I paid through Apple Pay on the old telephone, so made it simple. We'll be covering it because I think tomorrow they play while the show's on. We can give live updates again as well.
And there's some 3 o'clock games, and then there's some like noon games that they're playing because it's all throughout the week. So where you want to be is in those semifinals on Saturday, and then the final 3 o'clock on Sunday. We don't want to be playing for bronze. We don't care about that. That's a bad luck.
We'll hear the interview with head coach Ryan Hodgins that we ran earlier in hour one again here in about 8 minutes' time. It's 0-0. Montreal is on the power play here. Montreal and the Caps. I don't know if I'm touching any of these teams, any of these guys in my Keniston Super Draft. 6 o'clock tomorrow is the deadline, so still lots of time to get your friends together. Or you can just do if you just want to go in one on your own, $40. I'm doing the 3 for $100, and I know a lot of people like Lawrence, they go in with some guys 7 for $200. Now, am I an idiot, Maz, because I'm not going to touch any players in this series after hearing what Lawrence said?
It's too risky because Montreal could be one and done. Same with the Caps. Will they make it past the second round? And you have to survive, like he had said, at least 2 rounds to have a crack. And like Lawrence, to get into the top 10, that's crazy because how many thousands of people enter this to be one of the 10 smartest people? So last week on the show, since they've been around for 41 years, there's somebody out there that's on a 41-year losing streak that they've never, ever put a winning roster together, and they're thinking, this is the year. I know it's been 4 decades, but this is my year. I just feel it. I got a feeling.
They're either a Chicago Cubs or a Boston Red Sox fan as well.
Speaking
first
of
place,
that, and
I'm just gonna go through the first place is 20 large. 20 grand, seconds 10, third 5, fourth 3,000, fifth place 2,000, and it just goes down from there. So you can find all the details, superdraft.com. I'm filling out mine tonight. I'm going to leave maybe one for tomorrow on the show because 6 p.m. is the deadline. Sorry, go ahead.
Obviously, there's a lot of luck that comes into this. No one thought that Jason Robertson was going to get hurt the last game of the season in garbage time, and all of a sudden he's out, and that's 25% of Dallas's offense usually in the playoffs the past couple of years. So that right there, that is a bracket crusher. And the other, Robert Thomas from the Blues and Jordan Kyrou, it's great. Thomas had a beautiful goal on Saturday, but if they get bounced in the first round here, well, those two are out, and maybe those only 2 Blues that you would pick.
Kyrou looked good. I haven't watched a lot of the Blues this year play, but gee, did he look good in game 1. If you're confused and you don't know what's going on in life, that's why you're here. We can tell you that the Canadians and Caps are playing right now. St. Louis Blues, Winnipeg Jets. They start, looks like in about 4 minutes time. Then we got Colorado, Dallas. That's a real noodle scratcher for me. That starts at 7:30. And then Edmonton, Los Angeles at 8 o'clock. So that's where I'm going to be working the 3 split screen. I'm going to have both NHL games on one. I'm going to have the Pat Canadians game on another one. Probably some sort of bowl of popcorn for sure. It's popcorn night.
So would the direction from you to the rest of your family be like, don't talk to me because I'm very laser focused right now with 3 screens?
My kids,
Your
my
3-screen
kids have
guy?
the draft. They have the school draft. They will be invested with me. They'll be munching on popcorn, different seasonings. We all roll different seasonings, but they'll be there watching as well too. And my son being, almost 14, he'll be wanting to watch the Pat Canadians game as well. My daughter thinks Maddox Schultz is the greatest player since Connor Bedard. So no, it'll be a family. As for the missus, it'll probably be a Peloton night for her. She can have the basement to herself. No, it's guaranteed. She won't care about us. She'll be like, yeah, you guys go watch your hockey. And then the weather.
Peloton bike or Peloton treadmill? Because I know they make multiples
bike.
now.
And yeah,
Bike.
rips. Like, it's embarrassing. I think she bought me actually the shoes at one time. And I'm like, I'm not going to use it. I'm not biking the gym or biking the basement guy. I'll go for a twirl outside.
Cues and clues. If your wife buys you special shoes to exercise, you've gotten fat and you need to lose some weight. We know this. You can't outrun a bad diet. Even Curtis said when he went and bought an iced coffee last week, there was a man bun behind the counter. Well, of course there was. That's exactly what you find. So if you're getting shoes for a workout bike, that's code for slim. Mix in a salad.
Nah, she likes my hair. Look at that. Look at that flow going. Yeah, I especially after Vegas. Oh, it's now salads, waters, chicken.
Well, so the buffet thing since COVID, they were all killed, and there's only a couple left, but they're super expensive. Did you do any of that at all?
No. There was there were a couple of billboards for, I think it was the Palms. The Palms is really pushing that they're still the buffet place.
Yes.
It's a nice.
They have new
nice
owners.
Casinos. Yeah, the First
it's very
Nations.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've revamped them or whatever, and they're trying to reinvigorate them because when they was owned by that
The
team
Maloof
that owned
brothers?
the family, the Maloof brothers. When the Palms was the Palms was the place to be in Vegas. Like that was a cab ride you had to take. Ghost Bar on the roof.
Yeah,
I mean that was
back open.
So awesome. Is it?
One of the guys that I was down there with was at a conference a couple months ago. And this big insurance guy had the one suite that has the 2 bowling lanes in it. So he was up there. They were bowling while drinking. He said it was like 200 people in this suite, and it was off the charts. It was really nice. Now, I always used to get the Maloof brothers mixed up with the Menendez brothers, and it got me thinking, who would win in a fight? If those two were tag teaming it up at your Royal Rumble or whatever you guys follow.
So the Menendez brothers have been in jail for the past 25-ish years for killing their parents.
The one guy looks like
brothers
you. One guy's bald.
There's a lot of bald people in the world.
But remember, did you ever watch the video how he was like stapling that rug to his head?
Oh, speaking of hair transplants, I saw somebody, they put a reel on Instagram because if you want a hair transplant, Turkey is the place to go, but it looks incredibly painful. So it's all these guys on these flights back home with the hair like cut into their head and like basically, oh man, just bald is okay these days. Why would you put yourself through that? There's a realtor I know. He did real well. And one of the things he did with some of his money, he now has a full head of hair, but he was Costanza as Costanza could be, but then he finally shaved the sides. But then in the past 18 months, Ken's got a full head of hair again. Doesn't look like the Ken that I knew.
Ken's been selling a lot of properties. Ken's been cashing in. Ken's passport's got a Istanbul stamp.
Yeah. God, so painful. So painful.
Yeah. It's
any problems with customs going down to the States? Customs, no problems at all?
Zero.
I know.
I'm like, my elbows were down. Let me in. I'm not. What are you going to do? Golf, gamble, hang out with some friends / clients. Have a good time. That's it. To the airport lounge I go.
How much is a round of golf down there?
I actually worked some good deals, but it's not good. It is not good. You're two bills if you don't strike a deal up. Shout out to the guys at the Chimera Golf Course in Henderson. Great track. We got a good deal there. Played Las Vegas National. It was okay, not as good as last year. Yeah, but there's like $250, $350. I ain't paying that. There's no way. Not a chance. Like that's almost the whole trip. Now, back when the dollar was at par, and some of these courses were like I played the Win once.
That was 2008. When the last time it was at par. 2007. Yeah.
And we played the Win that year, and it was $5 to play the Win. Now, let me tell you something. $500 in Vegas for 4.5 hours of that experience. Guys are blowing that when you think about it in seconds. So guys in our group, I know a couple of guys in our group are big, like, high tier, high slots, the high stake tables. And they were like, you paid that much to golf? I'm like, how much did you spend today gambling? I said, that is peanuts. And I played the most beautifully manicured golf course I've ever played. It was unreal back there, man. Not a blade of grass out of place. Like that, it made the Pebble Beach look like Holiday Park. And I've played both. It was unreal. And the dollar was at par. And you know what? It was an experience and the Exec 9 at Holiday too. Not even the Champ course, the Sexy 9. It was unbelievable.
The fact that Pebble Beach and Holiday Park Executive 9 could get worked in the same. Does Holiday Park have better hot dogs than Pebble Beach? Sure they do. Of course. Why not?
No, there was a nice pork missile at the turn at Pebble. I remember that too. And huge seagulls. You had to keep your head on a swivel, just like the what is it? The raven or the crows in Waskasiu. They come in, steal. Got to keep your head on a swivel. Pat C's and Fraser Valley, 8 o'clock, still 0-0, it looks like, in Montreal and Washington. Other games are starting right away. We're going to have head coach of the Regina Pat Canadians from earlier, Ryan Hodgins, on after the break. Maz, thanks so much. Good job. Good job last week when I was gone, by the way. The Sharky day, a little dicey. Curtis.
Yeah, that wasn't me. That was 100% Sharky. He was breaking stories. He was breaking news, getting
erroneous information.
Apparently he's not part of Team Canada. Oh, he was all over the place, but it was the best. But the NASCAR report, we killed. That NASCAR report was an 11 out of 10 on Thursday.
It was. Sheriff, good job today. Ryan Hodgins, head coach of the Regina Pats, coming up. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Get your super drafts in, 6 o'clock tomorrow. See you later.